Welcome back. So far, Walter White has made two decisions that completely change the direction of his life. First, he decides not to simply accept this diagnosis of lung cancer, terminal lung cancer. And second, he tracks Jesse down, Jesse Pinkman, a former student, and he persuades him to become his partner. Now we turn to the moment where ideas, these are all just ideas at this point, they become actions. There's a huge difference between talking about committing a crime and actually going through with it. To go through something means to do something difficult or unpleasant that you've already decided to do. You'll hear things like, I wasn't sure I could go through with the surgery. They planned the wedding and went through with it. It's a very natural expression. We don't normally say, he completed his decision. We would say he went through with it. So Walter and Jesse, they drive out into the New Mexico desert. Why the desert? Well, because they believe nobody will find them there. It's isolated. Walter brings laboratory, lab equipment. Jesse brings the RV. And immediately you see something that's interesting. Walter is no longer the timid schoolteacher. As soon as chemistry becomes involved, he completely takes over. He speaks with confidence, he gives instructions, he corrects Jesse's mistakes. For the first time in years, he's the expert. He's completely in control. Finally. To take over is a phrasal verb. It means to take control of a situation. You could say, Sarah took over the meeting. Once the manager arrived, she took over. Notice that confidence often appears when people are doing something they are very or exceptionally good at. So Walter, at this point, we see that he may have lacked confidence in life, but he never lacked confidence in chemistry. So we're looking at a subtle detail here, the relationship between Walter and Jesse. Years earlier, Walter had taught Jesse at school. He remembers him as someone who never really worked very hard. And there's a line that captures this perfectly. Walter tells Jesse that he could have. It was possible, but it didn't happen in the past. He tells Jesse that he could have achieved much more if he had simply applied himself. To apply yourself means to work hard, to make a serious effort. You'll hear people say, if you apply yourself, you'll pass the exam. She finally applied herself at university. Teachers say this constantly. Parents say it too. It's a natural expression. Something interesting happens during this cook. They are cooking meth. It's called the cook. Walter isn't just trying to make money. He's actually trying to make the purest methamphetamine possible. Why? Why is he so obsessed with this? Well, because excellence matters to him. He's proud of his chemistry. He wants perfection. I suppose this tells us something important, very important about his personality. Walter isn't motivated only by survival. At first we think that's the situation. He wants to survive. He's not. He's motivated by recognition. He wants people to admire what he can do. In psychology, this desire, it often remains hidden for years. Then, when people finally receive an opportunity, it comes to the surface. That's an idiom. To come to the surface means hidden emotions or qualities become visible. They come to the surface. You might hear people say, old memories came to the surface, or his anger finally came to the surface, and everything goes wrong. Just when Walter and Jesse think they've succeeded, everything goes wrong. They discover they aren't alone. Two drug dealers arrive unexpectedly. Now, Walter, he faces a completely different problem. Until now, everything has been theoretical. But now his own life is in danger. This is where Walter demonstrates another characteristic, a personality trait that we've hardly seen before. He doesn't panic. Instead, he quickly comes up with a solution. He uses his knowledge of chemistry and he creates poisonous phosphine gas. There's an explosion which allows Walter and Jesse to escape. This is one of the cleverest moments in this episode. To come up with something, that's a phrasal verb. It means to think of an idea or a solution. She came up with a brilliant plan, for instance, or people ask, can you come up with another example? Students often ask me that. They say, can you come up with another example? Native speakers use this constantly. Business meetings, in classrooms, daily conversations, you'll hear it everywhere, to come up with something. Now, at the beginning of this episode, Walter was still an ordinary teacher. But now, everything's changed. He's cooked illegal drugs. He's poisoned two men, the drug dealers. He's become responsible for their deaths, whether he intended that or not. There's no going back. And this brings us to the original question. When does Walter actually break bad? When does he become bad? Some people would argue the moment he agrees to cook meth. Others would say the moment he kills. The other possibility, maybe Walter breaks bad much earlier. Maybe it was the moment he decided that his own intelligence gave him the right to ignore society's rules. Because from that point onward, when he decides that, every decision became easier for him. Every moral line became easier to cross. Every success convinced him he was justified. That's maybe what makes Breaking Bad such an extraordinary story. It's not really about drugs. It's about pride, identity, maybe power, control. And what happens when someone who has felt invisible for years suddenly discovers that he's exceptionally good at something dangerous? When we say to end up, we mean to finally arrive at an unexpected result. It's a phrasal verb. He studied chemistry, for instance, but he ended up becoming a teacher. You might hear people say, if we're not careful, we'll end up getting lost. Where did you end up yesterday? It's a very common phrasal verb in English, as is to walk away. To walk away means to leave a situation. She walked away from the argument. He had one last chance to walk away. One of the great tragedies of Walter White is that at several points in the series, he could still have walked away. But each time, he chooses not to. So a little on the vocabulary. A chemist is a scientist who studies or works with chemicals. Methamphetamine is a powerful, illegal stimulant drug. Desperation. We talked about desperation. That's a feeling of having no hope or no good choices. Ego is a person's sense of self-importance or identity, their ego. You'll hear people talking about integrity. Integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. So there are 3 useful idioms at this point. To cross the line, that's to behave in a way that is no longer acceptable. Walter crossed the line when he started to cook meth, whatever. You'll also hear it described as a point of no return. That's a stage after which you cannot go back. Sometimes you'll hear people say signing the contract was the point of no return. We also say to open a can of worms. These are all relevant at this point in the Breaking Bad story. To open a can of worms is to create a complicated problem by starting something. Asking some questions opens a can of worms. A can of worms, it's to create a problem, a complicated problem when you start doing something or speaking about something. So as a final thought here, one of the reasons Breaking Bad remains one of television's best dramas is that it forces us to ask a few uncomfortable questions. How much of who we are is shaped by our circumstances? How much is already inside us, already within us? If Walter White had never received that cancer diagnosis, would Heisenberg, his alter ego we call it, another character, would Heisenberg have remained hidden forever? Or was he simply waiting for the right moment to emerge? It's a question, only you can answer that. This is just one lesson from today's episode of Listen Global English. If you want more like this, if you want to improve your English naturally through history, literature, movies, real-world stories, search for Listen Global English wherever you get your podcasts. Unlike traditional English lessons, we don't memorize vocabulary lists. I've been teaching this way for 16 years now in Colombia, here in Colombia. It's where I am today. We learn English naturally through stories and conversations, ideas, just as native speakers use the language every day. So until next time, keep listening, keep learning. Bye-bye for now.